Okay, yeah, so the question is, how did you get started in this work?
Well, that, to me, it feels like a long story, but I know you don't have a lot of time, so I'll give you the shortened version. It was back in 1989, and I was teaching biology in an account at Go. And then I was at church at the beginning of the school year, and the pastor said, "Why aren't you teaching?" And the woman in front of me worked at a place called Axe, and she said, "Well, Peggy, the community outreach coordinator at Axe Turning Points is looking for a community outreach coordinator." I think I said that wrong, but anyway. So I thought, well, I'll find out about that. And I knew about Axe, but I didn't know anything about domestic violence. So I thought, well, I better find out before I go for an interview. So I went to see Nancy Fowler, and she was at Fredericksburg, was a court advocate. And then I went up to Alexandria and talked to people there to find out about it. And then I went to Quantico and talked about it. And then I had my interview and I was hired. And then, of course, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And so I had different kinds of training, and I went to alliance functions, and one of the first people that came to the local program, which was in a garage, was Deb Downing, and she says, well, she came with a hat, and she said, "What have you learned so far?" And I knew a few buzzwords at the time, so I said, well, I learned about empowerment. She said, well, Peggy, if you're going to be developing a court program, empowerment is, important, but it's not as important possibly as it is in regular advocacy, because you're going to have to give them information. And so I was like, oh my goodness. And so I started learning more about that, and I went to an alliance training, and Ruth Micklin was teaching a class about court advocacy, and I was sitting in the front row, and she said something about the court may be the last place that you would want to bring a client. And I was like, inside I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is not what I was expecting to hear at all. I wanted to get help, learning to help people there. And of course I was very ignorant about everything. And she said, she went on to explain it. And at first I was thinking I'd come to the wrong place. But I know from past experience that a lot of times when my initial reaction is negative, but I'm impressed by the person, I think, well, I'm going to hang in there and try to find out more. And that was the beginning, and it was, 23 years ago? I'm not sure how many, but back in 1989.
Awesome.